I'm Rebecca Sullivan, 38 years old, and I never thought my life would become a battleground. At our family Thanksgiving dinner, my younger brother Michael picked up the handcrafted photo frame my 12-year-old daughter Lily had spent weeks making for him and sneered, "Cheap, worthless trash." Lily's face crumpled instantly, tears welling in her eyes. My first instinct was to comfort her, but then I caught Michael's smirk as he carelessly tossed her gift aside. In that moment, something inside me snapped. This pattern of cruelty had gone on far too long. That was the moment I finally saw my brother for what he truly was. Before I share the rest of this painful journey, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. If you've ever dealt with a toxic family member, hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories of family struggles and triumphs, because sometimes the most important battles are fought across dining room tables. To understand how we arrived at that devastating Thanksgiving moment, you need to know about our family. I've been a single mother since my divorce 5 years ago, raising Lily while building my interior design business from scratch. My clients love my eye for detail and dedication to their vision, qualities that helped me stay afloat after my ex-husband left. My brother Michael, 2 years younger than me, took a different path. He became a wildly successful investment banker with a picture-perfect family, his wife Amanda and their twin boys. From the outside, they embodied the American dream: mansion in the suburbs, luxury cars, and private school education for the kids. Michael never missed an opportunity to mention his latest acquisition or business triumph. Our mother Caroline has lived alone since Dad died 8 years ago. Thomas Sullivan was a kind, hard-working man who built a modest construction business. He left behind a trust fund to be split equally between Michael and me, with Mom as the trustee until her passing. Dad was always my greatest supporter, the one person who saw through Michael's charm offensive. "Becky has the heart in this family," he used to say, which infuriated Michael. Mom, however, has always been blind to Michael's faults. From childhood, he was her golden child who could do no wrong. When Michael broke my science fair project the night before judging, Mom said I should have kept it out of his way. When he borrowed money from her purse as a teenager, she believed his lies about school fees. The pattern continued into adulthood. Michael was ambitious and successful, while I was just getting by in her eyes. The handmade gift that triggered everything wasn't just any craft project. Lily had collected seashells during our last beach trip with Grandpa Thomas before he died. She painstakingly arranged them around a wooden frame, painting it Dad's favorite shade of blue. Inside, she placed a photo of the 3 generations together: Dad, Michael, and Michael's sons that she'd found in Grandma's album. It represented family connection, memory, and love, everything Michael claimed to value. I'd noticed concerning patterns in recent months. Michael had been spending unusual amounts of time with Mom, often excluding me from family discussions. He'd made comments about her updating her will to reflect current family situations, whatever that meant. I also caught whispers between Mom and Michael about property transfers and investment opportunities. My brother's perfect life had cracks, too. Amanda rarely spoke at family gatherings anymore, and their boys seemed unusually subdued. Once, I noticed bruises on Amanda's wrist, which she quickly covered with her sleeve when she saw me looking. When I tried raising concerns with Mom about Michael's influence over her finances, she bristled. "Your brother understands money. You've always been jealous of his success." I'd spent years keeping the peace, swallowing my objections for Mom's sake. But something about seeing my daughter's face fall as her uncle dismissed her heartfelt gift triggered a protective instinct I couldn't ignore. The dismissal of Lily's gift wasn't just about a frame, it was about a lifetime of Michael devaluing anything that couldn't be measured in dollars. "How dare you speak to her like that?" I said, my voice shaking as I stood up from the dining table. The turkey had barely been carved, cranberry sauce still in its serving dish. Michael looked up with mild surprise. "What?" "I'm just being honest. Kids need to learn that not everything they make is special." Lily had already run from the room, her sobs echoing down the hallway. "She spent weeks on that gift," I said. "She used the shells from our last trip with Dad." Oh, come on, Rebecca, Mom interjected, patting Michael's hand. He was just joking. You're being oversensitive as usual. Amanda stared at her plate, her fork pushing food around without taking a bite. No, Mom. This isn't about being sensitive. This is about basic human decency. I felt decades of suppressed anger bubbling to the surface. Michael has always been cruel, and you've always made excuses for him. Michael's expression darkened. Watch yourself, Becky. You're embarrassing yourself. Am I? Because I'm not the one who mocks children's gifts. I turned to Mom. Have you noticed how he treats his own family? Have you asked yourself why Amanda barely speaks at these gatherings anymore? Amanda's head snapped up, eyes wide with fear. Michael stood so quickly his chair toppled backward. That's enough. You know nothing about my family or my business. You barely keep that little design shop afloat. I know more than you think, I replied, surprised by my own boldness. I know you've been pressuring Mom about changing her will. I know you've been moving assets around. Mom gasped. Rebecca, how dare you accuse your brother? It's not an accusation if it's true, I interrupted. Dad wanted us to share equally. He knew what Michael was capable of. Michael's face had turned scarlet. You've always been pathetic, Rebecca, always playing the victim. Well, guess what? If you want to make accusations, be prepared for consequences. I have friends in every industry in this town. One word from me, and your little design business is finished. And good luck maintaining custody of your daughter when the courts hear about your mental health issues. Mental health issues? What are you talking about? Depression after your divorce, wasn't it? Therapy twice a week? Medication? He smirked. Amazing what people tell me when I ask the right questions. I felt ice in my veins. He'd been talking to my ex. You stay away from my daughter, I warned. Or what? You've got nothing, Rebecca. No influence, no real money, no power. You exist because the rest of us allow it. Mom stood between us. Stop this immediately. Rebecca, apologize to your brother. That was the final straw. Apologize? For what? For finally standing up to the family bully? For protecting my daughter? I grabbed my purse. Lily and I are leaving, and this is the last holiday you'll ruin for us. As Lily and I drove home through the darkness, her quiet voice broke the silence. I'm sorry my gift caused a fight, Mom. I reached across to squeeze her hand. Sweetie, your gift was beautiful. This isn't about the gift. It's about Uncle Michael and behaviors that have gone unchecked for far too long. He's mean to Aunt Amanda too, she observed. I saw him squeeze her arm really hard when she tried to compliment my dress. Out of the mouths of babes, Lily had seen what I'd been willfully ignoring. That night, after tucking Lily in, my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. Rebecca, you need to apologize to Michael immediately. He's your brother. For heaven's sake. No, Mom, not this time. In fact, I think it's time I looked into exactly what Michael's been doing with the family trust. You're being ridiculous. Your brother is a successful financial advisor. Then he should have nothing to hide, I replied, ending the call. I sat in my quiet kitchen, trembling with adrenaline and determination. For the first time in my adult life, I was going to stand up to Michael not just for myself, but for Lily, for Amanda, and even for Mom. I picked up my phone again and dialed an old college friend who worked in financial regulation. Julia, it's Rebecca Sullivan. I need your help. Julia met me at a quiet coffee shop downtown 3 days after Thanksgiving. She'd aged well, her confidence evident in her tailored suit and direct gaze. So you think your brother is manipulating your mother's finances? She asked after I explained the situation. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, I admitted. But something doesn't feel right. He's been isolating Mom, pushing me out of financial discussions, making comments about changing her will. Julia nodded thoughtfully. Family financial abuse isn't uncommon, especially with elderly parents. Let me see what I can find. Over the next few weeks, Julia used her connections to quietly investigate Michael's investment firm. Meanwhile, I hired Sarah Goldstein, an attorney specializing in elder financial abuse. The retainer nearly emptied my savings account, but I couldn't turn back. 2 weeks before Christmas, Julia called me. "Rebecca, can you meet today? I found something." In her office, she spread documents across her desk. "Your brother's firm has some serious irregularities. He's been moving clients' money through multiple shell companies. And look at this," she pointed to a document with my mother's signature. "These transfers from your mother's accounts? The timing and amounts don't make sense for legitimate investments." My stomach dropped. "You think he's stealing from her?" "I think this warrants further investigation. But there's more." She pulled out another file. "The family trust your father established has had several unusual transactions. Large sums transferred to offshore accounts, then smaller amounts returning to domestic accounts controlled by Michael. He's embezzling from our trust? It appears that way. And based on these documents, I believe he's manipulated your mother into signing over property, specifically your father's commercial buildings downtown." I felt physically ill. Those properties were meant to be our shared inheritance. "Can we prove any of this is illegal?" "With more documentation, yes. But Rebecca, be careful. People who commit financial fraud often become desperate when exposed." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Back off now, or things will get ugly." He knew I was investigating him. That afternoon I drove to Mom's house, knowing Michael would be at work. I needed to see if she had copies of whatever she'd signed. Mom was surprised to see me. "Rebecca, I thought you were still not speaking to me." "Mom, I need to see any financial documents Michael has had you sign recently." Her face hardened. "This again? I'm perfectly capable of managing my affairs with Michael's help. Please, Mom, just let me see what you've signed." While she made tea, I slipped into her home office. In her filing cabinet, I found folders of documents with Michael's firm's logo. Skimming through them, I spotted transfer authorizations, property deeds, and amendments to her will. Mom caught me with the papers in hand. "What are you doing? Those are private." "Mom, did you read these before signing them? Do you understand what they mean?" Of course I did. Michael explained everything. I held up a property transfer. "This gives Michael sole ownership of Dad's office building, the one Dad specifically wanted us to share. Well, Michael needs it for his business expansion. You only rent space for your little design studio." "And this?" I held up another document. "This gives Michael power of attorney over all your finances. He understands money better than either of us." I took a deep breath. "Mom, I've had experts look into Michael's business. There are serious concerns about how he's handling client funds, including yours." Her face flushed with anger. "You've been spying on your brother? How dare you? I'm trying to protect you and what Dad wanted for both of us." She snatched the papers from my hands. "I've had enough of your jealousy, Rebecca. The truth is, I've already changed my will. Michael gets controlling interest in all the family assets." The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. "What? Why would you do that?" "Because he's successful. He knows how to grow wealth, not just get by like you. Your father was too soft, always coddling you. Michael is stronger." I left Mom's house in tears, her words echoing in my ears. For the first time, I considered giving up. Maybe fighting Michael was futile. He had Mom completely convinced. He had financial resources I couldn't match, and he clearly knew I was investigating him. That night, I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by the meager evidence I'd gathered, feeling utterly defeated. Lily found me there, still in my coat. "Mom, are you okay?" I tried to smile. "Just grown-up problems, sweetie." She sat beside me, her small hand covering mine. "Is it about Uncle Michael? Is he being mean again?" I nodded, unable to explain the complexity of the situation. "My teacher says bullies only win if you stop fighting back," she said with the simple wisdom of children. Looking at her innocent face, I knew I couldn't give up. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about justice, truth, and showing my daughter that we don't let bullies win, even when they're family. The doorbell rang the following Sunday afternoon while Lily was at a friend's house. I opened the door to find Amanda, Michael's wife, standing on my porch, looking nervously over her shoulder. "Can I come in, please?" I ushered her inside, noticing her pallor and the dark circles under her eyes. "I don't have much time," she said, declining my offer of coffee. "Michael thinks I'm at the gym." "Amanda, what's going on?" "I know you're investigating Michael. I want to help." She opened her purse and pulled out a USB drive. "There's financial information here, account numbers, transactions, client lists. Things he doesn't know I've seen." I stared at her in shock. "Why are you doing this?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Because I can't live like this anymore. The perfect family everyone sees? It's a nightmare behind closed doors. He controls every aspect of our lives, what we wear, who we talk to, every dollar we spend. The bruises I've seen," she nodded, pulling up her sleeve to reveal finger-shaped marks. "It's been getting worse. When he came home after Thanksgiving, he was in a rage like I've never seen. He smashed our wedding photo against the wall." "Amanda, you need to leave him." "I'm working on it. But I need evidence first, leverage to protect myself and the boys." She leaned forward. "Rebecca, he's not just embezzling from clients and your mother. He's hiding assets from tax authorities. And he has offshore accounts I'm not supposed to know about." "How did you find all this?" "I used to work in banking before we married. Michael forgets I understand financial records. I've been quietly documenting everything for over a year." She glanced at her watch. "I have to go. But there's something else you should know. Michael sabotaged your marriage." My breath caught. "What?" "He met with James several times before your separation, filled his head with doubts, said you were unstable, possibly unfaithful. I heard him bragging about it to a friend." The room seemed to spin. My ex-husband's sudden paranoia, the accusations that seemed to come from nowhere, it all made horrible sense. Why would he do that? Control. He couldn't stand that you were happy when he wasn't, and he wanted James's client list for his firm. She stood to leave. "Be careful, Rebecca. I've covered my tracks, but if Michael suspects I've helped you." After Amanda left, I called Sarah, my attorney, and arranged to meet with David Thompson, my father's former business partner. As one of Dad's closest friends, David might have insights Michael wouldn't expect me to access. David met me at his fishing cabin by the lake, away from potentially prying eyes. "I've been concerned about Michael for years," he admitted, pouring us both coffee. "Your father was too. It's why he structured the trust the way he did." "What do you mean?" "Tom knew Michael had a ruthless streak. He tried to set up protections, naming me as co-trustee. But after he died, Michael pressured your mother to have me removed." "I never knew that." David sighed heavily. "Michael threatened to expose some old business troubles. Nothing illegal, but embarrassing. I regret stepping down now." David shared documents showing that Michael had hidden assets during his own divorce proceedings years earlier, a practice run for his current schemes. He also confirmed my suspicion that Michael had interfered in my marriage. "He told James you were planning to leave him, take Lily to Europe. Said you'd consulted divorce attorneys already. None of that was true. Michael has always seen you as competition, Rebecca. Your father's respect for you drove Michael crazy." With Amanda's evidence and David's insights, I began developing a comprehensive strategy. Sarah helped me organize the documentation and prepare potential legal actions. We needed to move carefully. Michael had resources and connections I couldn't match. At home, Lily noticed my renewed determination. "You seem different, Mom," she observed as we made dinner together. "How so?" "Stronger. Like you're not scared anymore." I smiled, realizing she was right. "I guess I've learned something from you, kiddo, about standing up to bullies." She beamed at me. "We're going to be okay, aren't we?" I hugged her tightly. "Yes, we are. For the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of my brother anymore." I knew Michael would retaliate once he realized I was building a case, but I underestimated how quickly and thoroughly he would strike. The first blow came when my largest client, the Westmore Hotel renovation project, abruptly terminated our contract. "I'm sorry, Rebecca," the owner said uncomfortably over the phone. "We've decided to go in a different direction." By the end of the week, 3 more clients had canceled. Then my bank called about irregularities in my business accounts requiring a temporary freeze. My application for a small business loan was mysteriously denied despite my excellent credit history. He's trying to destroy your livelihood, Sarah observed when I called her in a panic. This is actually good news. It means he's worried about what you found. Good news or not, I was suddenly struggling to meet payroll for my small staff. The attacks quickly became personal. My mother called, her voice shrill with concern. Rebecca, are you taking your medication? Michael told me you've been making wild accusations, showing up at his office, threatening his family. None of that is true. I haven't even spoken to Michael since Thanksgiving. He says you need help. He's looking into residential treatment options. And he thinks, her voice dropped, he thinks Lily might be better off with James until you're stable. My blood ran cold. He's trying to take my daughter? It's for the best, dear. Temporary custody while you get the help you need. I hung up and immediately called Sarah, who promised to file for a protective order. But the damage was spreading. Friends started treating me differently, some avoiding me entirely. At Lily's school Christmas concert, I overheard mothers whispering about mental health issues and custody concerns. James called next. Beck, what the hell is going on? I'm getting calls about emergency custody hearings. It's Michael. He's retaliating because I've discovered his financial fraud. Michael says you're having delusions, that you've stopped taking medication, and you're making threats. And you believe him over me? A pause. I don't know what to believe anymore, but I don't want Lily caught in the crossfire. The final shock came when I arrived at my office to find the door ajar. Inside, everything was ransacked. Design plans scattered, computers smashed, fabric samples slashed. Spray painted across my vision board was a single word: stop. I called the police, but without security cameras, there was little they could do. While filing the report, Officer Martinez looked at me oddly. Miss Sullivan, there's a flag on your name in our system. A flag? What does that mean? It means we've been advised you may file false reports due to mental health concerns. Michael had even poisoned law enforcement against me. I left the ruined office feeling utterly defeated, wondering how one person could wield so much destructive power. That evening my assistant Jen called in tears. Rebecca, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what he was doing. What are you talking about? Your brother. He approached me last month, said he was concerned about you, wanted information about your clients and scheduled to keep an eye on you. He paid me. I didn't realize he was using it to hurt you. Another betrayal. Even within my small circle of trusted colleagues, Michael had planted seeds of destruction. The next morning brought news that the design board was investigating complaints about my business practices. Without a license, I couldn't legally work on any projects, even if I still had clients. Lily came home from school in tears. Tommy and Alex said I can't come to their birthday party anymore. Their mom said you're not well and might cause a scene. Tommy and Alex were my nephew's friends. Michael was even poisoning children against us. That night, I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by unpaid bills, lawsuit threats, and evidence that seemed increasingly insufficient against Michael's campaign of destruction. My phone constantly buzzed with concerned messages from people who had heard disturbing things about my mental health. For the first time, I considered that Michael might actually win. He had resources, connections, and a lifetime of practice at manipulation. I had a dwindling bank account and a reputation in tatters. As I contemplated surrender, my eyes fell on the remains of Lily's craft, supplies the shells, paint, and glue she'd used to create Michael's rejected gift, the gift that had started this war. In that moment, I realized giving up would teach my daughter the wrong lesson, that bullies with power can do whatever they want without consequences. I picked up my phone and called Amanda. I need everything you have, all of it. Michael's going to destroy us if we don't stop him first. We need to be smarter than Michael, I told Amanda the next day at a coffee shop 2 towns over, far from anyone who might recognize us. He expects me to fight directly, but we need to work from the shadows now. Amanda nodded. I've been documenting everything on my end. But we need more. I've been thinking about that. Michael doesn't see me as a threat, he sees me as an annoyance to be swatted away. That's his weakness. He underestimates me. We developed a careful plan. While Michael focused on destroying my public reputation, I would quietly build an irrefutable case. Amanda would continue gathering internal documents. I would reconnect with my father's old network people Michael might not realize could help me. My first step was purchasing a small, voice-activated recorder. Since Michael believed I was already unstable, I decided to use that perception to my advantage. I showed up at his office, disheveled and emotional, exactly what he expected. "What the hell are you doing here?" he demanded when his assistant reluctantly let me in. "You have to stop this, Michael," I pleaded, letting tears flow freely. "You're destroying everything." His smirk was chilling. "You did this to yourself, Becky. I warned you not to dig into my business. Dad wanted us to share the inheritance. Why are you taking everything?" "Because I can," he said simply. "You think you can stop me? With what? You have nothing. No money, no influence, no credibility. I've made sure of that. What about Mom? Don't you care that you're stealing from her too?" He laughed. "Mom signed everything over willingly. She trusts me. Unlike you, the perpetual disappointment." Every word was captured on my hidden recorder, not enough to prove financial fraud, but clear evidence of his malicious intent. Next, I visited Eleanor Pierce, my father's former accountant, now in her 70s. After explaining my situation, she revealed she'd kept copies of the original trust documents. "Your father was very specific about his wishes," she explained, showing me papers with Dad's familiar signature. "Equal shares, with provisions to protect both you and your mother from undue influence." "Why would he worry about undue influence?" Eleanor hesitated. "There was an incident, years ago. Michael tried to get your father to invest in a questionable venture. When Thomas refused, Michael forged his signature on some documents. I caught it during a routine audit. Dad never told me about this. He wanted to protect Michael from legal consequences, but he never fully trusted him with money again. This revelation led me to other discoveries. With Sarah's help, I tracked down 3 elderly clients who had lost significant investments through Michael's firm. Each had similar stories. Michael had gained their trust, gradually taken control of their finances, then explained away losses with complex financial jargon. "He seemed so trustworthy," Mrs. Gladwell, a 8-year-old widow, told me. By the time I realized something was wrong, most of my savings was gone. I connected these former clients with Julia, who helped them file formal complaints with financial regulatory authorities. Meanwhile, Amanda discovered Michael had created a separate email account for communicating with our mother, one I never knew existed. She obtained the password and found years of messages where Michael systematically turned Mom against me, sharing manipulated photos, out-of-context quotes, and outright lies about my lifestyle and parenting. "You need to see this," Amanda said, forwarding me an email thread from 3 years earlier. In it, Michael discussed with William Carson, our family's longtime attorney, and my godfather, how to modify Dad's will after his death to give Michael greater control. William helped him? I felt sick. William had been at every family, Christmas, birthday, and graduation, my entire life. "Look at the dates," Amanda pointed out. "This started right after your father's cancer diagnosis." While gathering evidence, I also needed to protect Lily. Sarah helped me secure a temporary order preventing anyone, including James, from removing Lily from my care without court approval. I explained the situation to Lily's school principal, providing documentation of Michael's custody threats. Despite our progress, setbacks continued. The elderly client testimonies were powerful but difficult to prove without financial records. Michael accelerated his attacks, filing a formal complaint with Child Protective Services claiming I was neglecting Lily. A caseworker showed up for a surprise inspection, which we fortunately passed easily. Michael then tried to freeze my personal bank accounts, claiming I was mentally incompetent to manage my finances. The pressure took its toll on my mother's health. She was hospitalized with chest pains, and Michael used the opportunity to ban me from visiting her, telling hospital staff I caused her stress. Your mother needs peace, he told me by phone, something you're incapable of providing. The most devastating blow came from family friend Patricia Lewis, who had been like an aunt to me growing up. When I approached her for a character reference to counter Michael's claims about my mental health, she reluctantly admitted Michael had already spoken with her. He showed me your medical records, Rebecca. The therapy sessions, the anxiety medication. He's worried about you. We all are. Medical records? How would he have those? From your divorce proceedings, I believe? Another violation. Michael had somehow accessed sealed court documents from my divorce documents that included confidential therapy notes from the difficult period after James left. Despite these challenges, our evidence dossier grew. David provided records showing Michael had diverted business opportunities from our father's company to his own secret ventures years earlier. Julia uncovered a pattern of suspicious transactions involving the family trust. Sarah documented the systematic campaign of defamation against me. After weeks of careful work, I sat at my dining table surrounded by evidence folders, feeling cautiously optimistic for the first time. We had enough to approach the authorities, enough to at least force an investigation into Michael's business practices. Lily came downstairs in her pajamas, looking at the organized chaos spread across the table. Is all this to stop Uncle Michael from being mean? I nodded. It's about holding him accountable for his actions. She considered this seriously. My teacher says sometimes standing up to bullies means you get hurt first, but it stops them from hurting more people later. I pulled her into a hug, amazed at her wisdom. Your teacher is very smart. Are you scared, Mom? Yes, I admitted. But sometimes doing the right thing is scary. She picked up one of the evidence folders. Then it must be really right, because you're the bravest person I know. Later that night, I received an unexpected email from an anonymous account. Inside was a single document, a bank statement, showing transfers from Michael's professional account to William Carson's personal offshore account, dated shortly after my father's death. The subject line read simply, "Not everyone has forgotten your father's kindness." I stared at the screen, wondering who in Michael's circle had decided to help me. It didn't matter. This was the missing link we needed, proof that our family attorney had been compromised. With this final piece of evidence, we were ready to confront Michael once and for all. I chose the battlefield carefully. Mom's house on a Sunday afternoon, a neutral location where Michael would feel confident, perhaps overconfident. I arrived precisely at 2 o'clock with Sarah beside me, and Amanda meeting us there separately. Mom looked frail after her hospital stay, but smiled warmly at Michael and his sons as they arrived. Her smile faltered when she saw me. Rebecca, I didn't know you were coming. This concerns all of us, Mom. Michael strode in, radiating confidence in his tailored suit. Family meeting? How quaint. Shouldn't you be looking for a new job, Becky? I hear your design business isn't doing so well. Please, everyone sit down, I said calmly. There are things we need to discuss. Who's this? Michael nodded toward Sarah. Sarah Goldstein, Rebecca's attorney, she introduced herself, placing a large portfolio on the coffee table. Michael's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. We don't need attorneys for a family chat. I think we do. I opened the portfolio and removed a stack of documents. These are records of transactions from the family trust over the past 5 years. Specifically, unauthorized transfers to accounts in the Cayman Islands. Mom asked me to manage the trust investments, Michael said dismissively. Everything was approved. Really? I placed another document on the table. This is a forensic accounting analysis showing how money moved from the trust through 7 different shell companies before landing in your personal accounts. Michael's face darkened. Where did you get these? I also have statements from 3 of your elderly clients describing how you systematically emptied their retirement accounts through similar methods. Lies, the ramblings of confused old people. I continued methodically. This is a transcript of you admitting to taking control of Mom's assets because, quote, I can. This is an email chain between you and William Carson discussing how to alter Dad's will after his death. With each document, Michael's confident facade cracked further. Mom picked up one of the statements, her hands trembling. Michael, what is this? These are transfers from my personal account that I never authorized. Of course, you authorized them. You signed the papers. I signed investment documents, she said, her voice strengthening, not transfers to your personal accounts. The front door opened, and Amanda slipped in quietly, standing against the wall. Michael didn't notice her at first, too focused on the mounting evidence before him. This is absurd, he sputtered. Rebecca has clearly fabricated these documents because she's jealous of my success. She's been mentally unstable for years. Ask anyone. Like William Carson? I asked quietly. Your co-conspirator who received payments after helping you circumvent Dad's wishes? His eyes narrowed. You know nothing. I know everything, Michael. I know you sabotaged my marriage by feeding lies to James. I know you've been systematically turning Mom against me for years with manipulated information. I know you've destroyed business relationships I've spent a decade building. Prove it, he sneered. I already have. The authorities have copies of everything here. The Financial Regulatory Commission has opened an investigation into your firm. 3 former clients have filed formal complaints. His face contorted with rage. You stupid bitch. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Michael! Mom gasped. Oh, shut up, he snapped at her. You've been a useful idiot, nothing more. The shock on our mother's face was heartbreaking. For perhaps the first time she was seeing Michael's true nature. I've contacted the family court, Sarah interjected calmly. Your attempts to interfere with Rebecca's custody of Lily have been documented and will be presented as evidence of malicious intent. Michael lunged forward suddenly, grabbing for the documents. You'll regret this, all of you. I stood my ground as he towered over me. It's over, Michael. The truth is out. The truth? He laughed bitterly. The truth is, I've always been smarter than all of you. Dad knew it. That's why he tried to hold me back with his precious equal shares. He was weak, just like you. Mom rose shakily to her feet. Thomas was not weak. He was fair and honest, everything you are not. Michael turned on her. You don't get to judge me. I built something while Rebecca played with fabric swatches. I created real wealth while she wasted time on her precious artistic integrity. And you stole from me, Mom said quietly. From your own mother. I reallocated assets to someone who could actually grow them. The money would have been wasted on Rebecca and her brat. Amanda finally stepped forward. The boys and I are leaving you, Michael. I've already filed the papers. The color drained from his face as he finally noticed his wife. What did you do? I provided Rebecca with the evidence she needed. Bank statements, client lists, recorded conversations about your offshore accounts. He moved toward her with such violence in his eyes that I stepped between them. Touch her, and assault charges get added to the fraud. For a moment, I thought he might strike me anyway. Then a calculating look crossed his face. Fine. You want to play hardball? Everything you think you know is just the surface. I have recordings too, conversations with Mom about your instability, documents showing you misused business funds. The courts will believe me, the successful financial advisor, not a struggling designer with documented mental health issues. Perhaps, Sarah interjected, but they'll definitely believe this. She placed a final document on the table, the anonymous email showing payments to William Carson. Michael's eyes widened in genuine shock. Where did you get that? It seems not everyone in your organization appreciates how you operate. His composure finally shattered completely. You think you've won? You've destroyed everything. Our family, the business, Mom's security, all for what? Some pathetic notion of justice? For the truth, I said simply. And to show my daughter that bullies don't get to win just because they're powerful. Michael grabbed his keys and stormed toward the door, pausing with his hand on the knob. This isn't over. You'll all regret the day you turned against me. After he left, Mom collapsed onto the sofa, weeping. How could I have been so blind all these years? I sat beside her, taking her hand. He fooled a lot of people, Mom. He was very good at it. Amanda looked exhausted but resolute. I should go check on the boys. They're with my sister. As she turned to leave, Mom called out, Amanda, I'm so sorry. I should have seen how he was treating you. We all wanted to believe in the perfect family image, Amanda replied gently. After they left, Mom turned to me with tears streaming down her face. Can you ever forgive me, Rebecca? The things I said, the way I treated you. We have a lot to work through, I admitted. But we'll do it together. Sarah packed up her portfolio. The regulatory authorities will want statements from both of you. This is just the beginning of a long process. I nodded, suddenly exhausted. The confrontation had gone as well as we could have hoped, but Michael's final threat lingered in the air. He wouldn't give up easily, he had too much to lose. But for the first time in my life, I had faced my brother's true nature without flinching, and I had survived. The weeks following our confrontation unfolded like a slow-motion earthquake, with aftershocks rippling through every aspect of our lives. The Financial Regulatory Commission launched a formal investigation into Michael's firm, freezing many of his business assets. Sarah filed emergency motions to protect the family trust, placing it under court supervision until all claims could be properly evaluated. Michael's first countermove was predictably vicious. He held a press conference claiming he was the victim of a vindictive sister who had always been jealous of his success. He produced carefully edited recordings of my emotional moments during our confrontation, painting me as unstable and obsessed. My sister has struggled with mental health issues for years, he told reporters with practiced concern. My only intention was to protect my mother's assets from her erratic decision-making. His performance was convincing, especially to those who only knew our family peripherally. Several of my recently canceled clients publicly stated they were relieved to have avoided working with me. But the tide began to turn when Julia convinced two financial journalists to investigate Michael's business practices. They uncovered a pattern of complaints from former clients that had been quietly settled or buried over the years. 3 former employees came forward with stories of being directed to falsify documents or face termination. Mom received the harshest public scrutiny. Former friends whispered about her poor judgment, wondering how she could have been so blind to Michael's manipulation. The stress exacerbated her health issues, leading to another hospitalization for dangerously high blood pressure. I deserve this, she told me from her hospital bed. I failed you as a mother. You were manipulated by someone who had perfected the art of deception, I reassured her, though part of me still struggled with forgiveness. Michael's legal team fought aggressively, filing motions to dismiss evidence, challenging the jurisdiction of various agencies, and attempting to discredit witnesses. His resources seemed limitless compared to mine, and several times Sarah warned me we might be outspent before reaching a resolution. He's trying to drain your resources, she explained during a particularly difficult week when I had to borrow money from David to cover her retainer. It's a common tactic in cases like this. Meanwhile, my business remained in shambles. Though a few loyal clients returned after the journalistic exposés, most potential customers were scared away by the ongoing controversy. I was forced to lay off my 2 assistants and work from home to reduce expenses. 4 months into the legal battle, Michael launched his most devastating attack. Somehow, he'd gained access to deeply personal therapy records from my divorce, not just the court-submitted summaries, but my actual session notes. He leaked these to several gossip blogs, complete with out-of-context quotes about my struggles with anxiety, my fears about single parenthood, and my most vulnerable moments. The public humiliation was nearly unbearable. Parents at Lily's school avoided eye contact in the pickup line. Former friends stopped returning my calls. Even James expressed concern about Lily spending time in such a volatile environment. He's trying to break you, Amanda said during one of our strategy sessions. She had filed for divorce and was fighting her own battle against Michael's attempts to gain full custody of their sons. He knows the legal case against him is solid, so he's attacking your personal reputation instead. The lowest point came when Michael convinced our cousin Patricia to testify at a hearing about the family trust. She described instances from our childhood where I'd supposedly shown jealousy toward Michael, times I'd been emotionally unstable during family gatherings, and concerns she'd allegedly had about my parenting. The Rebecca I knew would never have pursued this vindictive campaign against her brother, she concluded tearfully. I can only assume her judgment is currently impaired. I sat in the courtroom, stunned by this betrayal from someone I'd considered family. Later, I learned Michael had helped finance Patricia's daughter's wedding and secured her son a prestigious internship at a client's firm. Everyone has a price, Amanda observed bitterly when I told her. Michael's just very good at finding it. By the 6th month, my financial resources were nearly depleted. The legal expenses, combined with my struggling business, had forced me to consider selling my house. Sarah had reduced her fees significantly, but even with her generosity, I wasn't sure how much longer I could continue. Then came Michael's most devastating move. He filed for emergency custody of Lily, claiming my obsessive pursuit of him constituted parental alienation and psychological abuse. The petition included statements from several experts who had never met Lily but were concerned based on the evidence Michael provided. The day I received the custody filing, I seriously considered surrendering. I sat in my car outside Sarah's office, wondering if ending the legal battle might at least allow me to keep my daughter. Perhaps I could accept the financial loss if it meant protecting what mattered most. My phone rang an unknown number. "Is this Rebecca Sullivan?" a man's voice asked when I answered. "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is Gregory Winters. I was your brother's executive assistant until 3 weeks ago." My heart raced. "Why are you calling me?" "Because I've seen what he's doing to you, and I can't be part of it anymore. I have documents, transaction records, emails, recorded conversations proving he falsified evidence against you and deliberately manipulated your mother's finances. Why would you help me?" A pause. "Your father helped my family once, years ago, alone when no bank would touch us. He never asked for anything in return except that we pay it forward someday." That sounded exactly like my father. "I'm taking a huge risk contacting you," Gregory continued. "Michael has threatened everyone who's ever worked for him. I understand, and I'm grateful. There's one more thing. The custody filing against you? I helped prepare it. The evidence is completely fabricated. Michael told us to create a narrative that would devastate you emotionally, make you want to give up." With Gregory's evidence, the tide turned dramatically. His documentation provided the connection between various fraudulent activities that had previously been difficult to prove as a pattern. The custody petition was dismissed, with the judge admonishing Michael's attorneys for submitting falsified evidence. 2 weeks later, Michael was arrested on multiple charges of financial fraud, witness tampering, and perjury. The image of him being led from his office in handcuffs made the front page of the local newspaper, the same paper that had once reported so sympathetically on his claims against me. As the legal consequences mounted, Michael made one final, desperate attempt to control the narrative. He called a family meeting, supposedly to discuss settlement options. Mom, against my advice, agreed to attend. "I need to hear what he has to say," she insisted. At her house, Michael appeared without his usual polished facade. His expensive suit was rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. "This has all gone too far," he began. "We're destroying our family over money." "This isn't about money," I replied quietly. "It's about truth and consequences." "Fine. You want truth?" His voice hardened. "Here's truth. Dad never respected me. He thought I was too ambitious, too willing to bend rules. He favored you because you were weak like him. He deliberately structured his will to control me from the grave." Mom shook her head sadly. "That's not true, Michael. Your father loved you. He just recognized tendencies in you that worried him." "Tendencies?" Michael scoffed. "You mean my ability to actually succeed instead of playing it safe? My willingness to take what I deserve?" "Your willingness to hurt others to get what you want," I corrected. His eyes narrowed. "Says the woman who's destroyed her brother's career and reputation." You did that yourself, Michael. Every step of the way. He leaned forward, desperation in his eyes. I'll make you both a deal. Drop the charges, reinstate the original trust provisions, and I'll leave you alone forever. No more attacks. No more legal battles. Clean break. Mom and I exchanged glances. The temptation to end this nightmare was powerful. And if we don't? I asked. His expression turned cold. Then I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of family we are. Every secret, every shame, every skeleton in our collective closets. Mom's drinking after Dad died. Your nervous breakdown during your divorce. Dad's business dealings that weren't quite as honest as his sterling reputation suggests. More blackmail, I said tiredly. That's all you have left. It's a negotiation, something you've never understood. I stood up. No, Michael. It's over. The courts will decide what happens next. As we left, he called after us. You think you've won? Wait until the whole truth comes out. None of us will survive with our reputations intact. It was the last time I spoke to my brother before his sentencing hearing. Despite his threats, no family secrets emerged, perhaps because they didn't exist, or perhaps because even Michael realized some lines couldn't be uncrossed. 1 year after Michael's arrest, I stood in the entryway of Mom's house, overseeing the caterers setting up for a family gathering. So much had changed in those 12 months, some wounds healed, others still tender to the touch. My interior design business had slowly rebuilt its reputation. A feature in Home and Design magazine about resilience in small business had brought new clients and renewed interest in my work. I'd moved to a smaller office space, but had been able to rehire Jen and bring on an intern from the local design school. Lily, now 13, had blossomed in unexpected ways. After winning a regional art scholarship with a mixed media piece titled Family Fragments, she'd developed a newfound confidence. Her teachers commented on her empathy toward classmates facing difficulties, a maturity beyond her years. The food smells amazing, Mom said, joining me in the entryway. At 72, she looked better than she had in years. After recovering from her health crisis, she'd joined a widow's support group and started volunteering at a literacy program. I think we're ready for everyone to arrive. The restoration of the family trust had been completed 6 months earlier, with court-appointed administrators ensuring proper distribution according to my father's original wishes. Michael's legal maneuvers had depleted some of the assets, but enough remained to provide security for Mom and education funds for all the grandchildren. Mom had insisted on having today's gathering at her house, the same space where so many painful confrontations had occurred. We need to reclaim it, she'd explained. Create new memories to balance the difficult ones. The doorbell rang, and Amanda arrived with her twins. After finalizing her divorce from Michael, she'd returned to her banking career and moved to a small house near her sister. The boys, subdued and anxious in the early months after their father's arrest, were now laughing as they raced to the backyard to set up the croquet set. David arrived next, with Julia and her husband. Several of Dad's old friends followed, along with neighbors who had stood by us through the scandal. Even James came, bringing his new wife but maintaining the respectful co-parenting relationship we'd rebuilt. As everyone settled in the backyard with drinks and appetizers, I found myself in a quiet moment with Mom in the kitchen. I never thought we'd have this again, she admitted, arranging cookies on a platter. Family gatherings without tension. We're creating something new, I said. It's different, but maybe better in some ways, more honest. She nodded, blinking back tears. I visited Michael last week. This surprised me. Though Michael had been sentenced to 8 years for financial crimes, with additional penalties for the fraud against his own family, Mom had been reluctant to see him in prison. How was it? She sighed. Hard. He's still so angry, so convinced he was wronged. He refused to discuss any responsibility for what happened. I'm sorry. Don't be. I needed to see him, to confirm that I wasn't abandoning him out of weakness. She squeezed my hand. Your father was right about you, Rebecca. You have the heart in this family. The strength to stand up for what's right, even when it hurts. From the patio, I heard Lily's laugh mingling with the sounds of clinking glasses and conversation. She was showing Amanda's boys how to set up the new telescope my mother had purchased for stargazing later. "I have something for you," Mom said, reaching into a drawer and pulling out a small box. Inside was a silver bracelet. I recognized instantly my father's last gift to her before he died. "Mom, I can't take this." "Yes, you can. Thomas would want you to have it." She fastened it around my wrist. "You protected his legacy of fairness and honesty. This belongs with you now." The afternoon flowed into evening with good food, better conversation, and moments of genuine laughter. As dusk fell, Amanda found me watching the children setting up lawn chairs for stargazing. "Sometimes I can't believe we're here," she said quietly. "A year ago, I couldn't imagine a future beyond survival." "I know exactly what you mean." She hesitated. "The boys asked about visiting their father next month. I'm not sure what to tell them." "What does your heart say?" "That despite everything he did, they need to form their own understanding of him. That cutting him off completely might create a different kind of wound." I nodded. "Then, trust that instinct. We're not trying to erase Michael from family history, we're just refusing to let his actions define us anymore." As the stars emerged, Lily approached with a package wrapped in blue paper, my father's favorite color. "I made something for Grandma," she said. "Do you think she'll like it?" Inside was a new picture frame, even more beautifully crafted than the one Michael had rejected a year earlier. This one featured seashells arranged in a spiral pattern with small pieces of sea glass interspersed like jewels. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. What picture will go inside?" She smiled. "Today's family photo. Our new beginning." When she presented it to Mom, the entire gathering fell silent at my mother's tearful reaction. "This is the most precious gift I've ever received," she told Lily, embracing her. Later, as guests began to depart, I found myself alone in Dad's old study. The room had been preserved largely as he left it, books on shelves, family photos on the desk, the faint scent of his pipe tobacco still detectable after all these years. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. James stood in the doorway. "Good party," he said awkwardly. "Lily seems really happy." "She is." "We both are." He nodded, hands in his pockets. "I owe you an apology, Beck. I should have trusted you more, believed in you instead of listening to the rumors. You were worried about our daughter. I understand that. Still, you deserved better." He hesitated. "For what it's worth, I'm proud of how you handled everything." Standing up to Michael took incredible courage. After he left, Mom found me still in the study, looking at old family photos. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked. "I was just thinking about what Michael said at our last meeting, that none of us would survive with our reputations intact." Mom smiled sadly. "And yet here we are." "Here we are," I agreed. "Not unscathed, but whole." Through the window, I could see Lily showing her cousins how to focus the telescope on Jupiter's moons. The future stretched before us, uncertain but full of possibility. The wounds would heal, leaving scars to remind us of our resilience. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson in all of this, that sometimes the most valuable gifts don't look like much on the outside, but contain treasures of truth and strength within. Have you ever had to stand up to a family member who was bullying or manipulating others? What gave you the strength to do it? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if this story resonated with you. Remember, sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight with those closest to us, but standing up for what's right is always worth it. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you the courage to face your own family challenges with grace and determination.